This is Bill Sang, the author of the Giganotus Rex series. You can find links to purchase the Giganotus Rex books at williamhsang.com, and Sang is Seng, or you can go to amazon.com. You can find books there. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Enjoy the show. The Wrath of Giganotus Rex by Bill Sang. Chapter 8, Avenger. The robot flew across the street and smacked into a building. It wasn't finished yet. After crashing to the ground, it popped back up. This time, it was locked on to G-Rex. We ran for cover. The sight of G-Rex up close was awe-inspiring. He dwarfed this squadron of robots, but they were resilient and strong. I heard a voice from one of the robot's intercoms say, "Enough fun for one day." Apparently, it was more than just a robot, but an enormous suit of armor. The team lead held up its arm and deployed a cluster of rockets that struck G-Rex around his ankles. Unfazed, he tracked the movements of his opponents one at a time. One of the team members must have felt brave as he ignited what appeared to be a jetpack mounted to his back. He accelerated at an incredible rate toward G-Rex, only to be swatted down like a fly. His suit burst open after hitting the ground, exposing the pilot inside of his crippled suit. Another one unlocked what appeared to be some sort of cannon. A red laser beamed out and struck G-Rex in the torso. The team lead did the same. This time, it was clear they were causing pain as G-Rex threw his head back with a terrifying shriek of agony. He crashed through a building as he evaded his pursuers, and they attempted to follow. A thick cloud of dust and debris filled the street. I could hear the lead say, "Switch to heat." Apparently, they could track heat signatures. They switched off their lasers and leapt into the cloud of dust. A few seconds passed, and all seemed calm until a bright glow materialized in the cloud of dust. The glow grew bigger and brighter until the team lead was tossed out of the cloud, totally ablaze with flames that were melting away his armor. The suit quickly lost all functionality, and it appeared that its pilot did not survive G-Rex's fiery blast. Next, G-Rex zipped out of the cloud, tossing and swinging like a person swatting at a hornet. The final suit buzzed through the air, hitting the monster with his laser. This last pilot was very confident in his abilities, perhaps too confident. G-Rex began to topple head first to the ground. The suit's pilot, believing he had stunned the beast, began to back up to avoid any untimely claws. Instead, he backed right into the lower half of G-Rex's tail. G-Rex whipped the suit with his tail, crushing its jets. The suit was sent on a crash course into the street. G-Rex approached to finish the job. The pilot cried out in defiance, "I'm taking you down!" A bright flash and a loud thunderous explosion erupted as the pilot self-detonated his suit in hopes it would bring down G-Rex. As the smoke cleared, it was evident that the pilot's effort was in vain. G-Rex stood in a triumphant stance as he bellowed a terrifying roar of anger. Unnoticed by us was an enormous pit from which G-Rex had emerged. He walked toward that pit and descended until we could see him no more. But it was not with the satisfaction that he departed the first time. He was not happy. These foreigners had invaded his territory twice now. After his first victory, he expected the boundaries to be known and established. Now they failed to receive his message, he would hunt them down. They would pay for their insolence. I was stunned at what we had just experienced. Somebody has to explain to me what just happened. All within a few days, my world has been transformed. One day it appeared that I lived a normal life. The next, I was questioning everything that I once believed to be true. It was likely that my life would never be the same again. Before I got the scoop on big stories, but this experience took it to a whole new level. There were so many questions. What was this monster? What were those mechanical suits of armor, and why were they in the city? What did these people mean when they said it was their time? I was hoping that the pieces of the puzzle would come together soon. Steve spoke up. "We've never seen those machines before, but apparently you and our villagers are in great danger." "Yes, explain, please," I demanded. "You are an outsider, so you might not understand." It was an awfully strange time for Steve to be making distinctions, but I had been wrong about everything else up to this point. I will do the best I can to explain. I will start off by saying that the military is not targeting the beast. They want to destroy us, along with our village. It sounded irrational to me. How can you say something like that? Why would they want to kill you? Simply put, they consider us to be a waste of resources. Steve took a few paces, looked down, and had a solemn look on his face. He was recalling events that had happened in the past. A long time ago, after the Great Cleansing, the leadership of our country decided to concentrate the population into different locations according to their purpose. You have the ruler city, corporate cities, commercial cities, industrial cities, military outposts, and villages which produce the raw materials that power our economy. I imagine you are probably aware of the divisions already. What you may not be familiar with are the reasons why the population has been divided in such a manner. He touched his hand to his forehead and made a facial expression that implied he'd rather not talk about this subject. Call me crazy if you will, but it's all about population control and the allocation of resources. The villages are the sectors that produce the materials needed to do business. The work is viewed as lower, but it requires a lot of manpower. This is the justification the rulers use for forcing us to have larger population centers. We are forced to live in tighter quarters so that through various illnesses we might be killed off at earlier ages. They believe that this will keep the population in check with the rulers' standards. One thing that we have been reprimanded on is that Orwell has been outliving its life expectancy. There are many more of us than what had been projected. To their dismay, this disproves their theory on overpopulation because we happen to be surviving just fine. I suspect that there are at least two marks against us. One being that we have outlived our life expectancy. The other probably has something to do with the food supply. More than likely, someone in the corporate sector has engineered a food source that will render us irrelevant. The way the rulers see it, they don't need us anymore. I felt it was a good moment to interject. And so you were going to rebel? Is that what you were told? He snapped back. In a casual tone, I responded, It slipped through the cracks, but I am only here to investigate the claim. We have no intention of rebelling. Even if we did, we have no weapons. We couldn't mount an offensive if we wanted to, said Steve. You saw those suits that just rampaged through our village. In only a few minutes, they eliminated a few dozen people from our populace. We've never seen anything like that before, and we are not allocated sufficient resources to develop technology that could stand up to that sort of armament. There is a military outpost not far from here. They oftentimes parade their tanks, artillery, and soldiers through our village to intimidate us. Those machines they sent were not from the nearby outposts. Those had to have come from either a corporate city or from the ruler's city, Utopia. The military equipment stationed out here is powerful, but not as advanced as what we just saw. Utopia has the most advanced and powerful equipment at their disposal. Corporate cities have military defenses that are just slightly less effective as what the rulers have. When you get to those cities, their defenses are in part for show. They know that we stand no chance of even raising an offensive against the less advanced war machines. They never anticipate an uprising that could topple their military might, but just in case all the cities and villages banded together to fight them, they would make sure to have technology that could crush any formidable threat. They must be serious and somewhat frightened if they sent that sort of weaponry out here to do their bidding. It seems that this beast must have struck some fear into their hearts. You mean G-Rex? I proudly added. G-Rex, Steve repeated. Is that what you call him? I named him that, I bragged. Giganotus Rex. That thing is definitely a dinosaur, but I cannot figure out what he is doing here. I think the suits were sent as a precaution, Steve thoughtfully observed. I don't think they were actually anticipating an encounter with him. I find it hard to believe they were sent to exterminate you, I tried to reason with him. They had to have been here for the beast. I know it's hard to believe, but it is the truth, replied Steve. I shrugged off his comment and did the best I could to make an excuse to leave before he spoke any more nonsense. I need to get back to Midland. I have to report on everything that I have learned so far. The battle we witnessed is news enough. And hey, no rebellion. That's good news, right? No, they don't care if we are rebelling or not. Steve responded with concern in his voice. I don't know if I've made it clear yet, but for some reason or another, the rulers have determined that we are no longer necessary. I respect your opinion. That's hard to believe. I tried to assure him that nobody was trying to kill them. I couldn't imagine that someone would want you dead just because you eat and breathe. This agenda was nothing more than a dream for quite some time, Steve answered. The world is now small enough that their dream is possible. The rulers know how much control they have. They can use the excuse of limited resources as a reason to justify whatever restrictions they want. This includes restricting the terms of life. You are losing me quickly. I shook my head and tried to have respect for what he was saying. I just don't believe that people can be that evil. That's just it. You are from a commercial city. You probably live a very charmed life. You have no concept of how corrupt people with power can become. You don't have time to worry about what's going on behind the curtain. You have a responsibility, and nothing that crosses your path will prevent you from accomplishing your goals. Steve was becoming a lot more serious, if it was possible. The impression you get is that the rulers are just a bunch of nice guys and caring women. We, on the other hand, get to experience their ugliness. Don't get me wrong, we want nothing to do with them to begin with. Problem is, whenever they interfere with our lives, it's not good. He paused long enough for me to speak in. Look, I really need to get back now. I appreciate your help. If it weren't for you, I would either have been stomped on by a giant robot or by a giant lizard. So thanks. A tiny smile crossed over Steve's face. Are you telling me that you are a reporter and you have no interest in speaking with one of the pilots we just saw fight? My eyes got big as excitement gripped my heart. You mean one of the pilots survived? He was taken to a medical facility, Steve replied, but we are unsure how long he will live. Yes, let me see him, I said. Then I must be on my way.